Welcome, Sagittarius. This is Regina from Pacific Tarot, getting ready to do a full moon in Virgo reading for you. This is a lunar eclipse, and the sun is conjuncting Mercury and Venus. Mercury is retrograding. It just began its retrograde path back over the last few weeks of movement. And so this gives us an opportunity to do a lot of review, a lot of internal work, a lot of ways that we are integrating deeper wisdom about changes we've made, things we are beginning or are initiating so that they are in better alignment with our intentions. I pulled the Oracle card from the Energy Archaeology to start with, and the card I pulled is Visioning. I'm going to read from the guidebook, and the key words when this energy is in balance are foresight, visionary, and trust. And the wisdom reads, you're the one who creates and stewards the vision for your life. Allow yourself to be guided by what others cannot see. There's a lush, rich inner world made up of your unique desires, motivations, perspectives, and energetic resonance that is a guiding force in your life. When inspired and activated, this inner world flows forth into a vision that may seem wholly incongruous with the world around you. You're the only one who can see what you see in the way that you see it. However, this inner world can be devoid of context, and context is meaningful because it's how you fit into your world and your boxes. But you're meant to be informed by context, not constrained by it. It is, after all, merely the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea and the meaning you assign to it. If you're not mindful, you can create an entire life within this box. Mindfully shift the context of your life so your vision can overflow and you can more graciously move graciously in alignment with it. Interesting message. Certainly, I do believe that the idea that you are taking the time within yourself to embody the vision that you have, allow the lessons learned that you actually experience beyond your thoughts are informing that vision. And this feels like a lot of what the full moon, in particular this lunar eclipse, is speaking to, how our routines and habits can evolve from a place where we no longer need to cope with antagonistic forces in our lives, where we release mind control because we don't need to rationalize our actions anymore. Rather, we are aligning our intention with our actual skills and the vision we have for the future. This is the sun, this is the moon, and then I'll read present, past, and future cards and then clarify them with the African Tarot and finish off with an oracle from the yogic path. So for the sun's energy, we have the sun. This is really about getting to the essence of who you are, the gift of who you are. There's a feeling here of almost a return to a place in your life, quite likely for many of you when you were a child, for some of you when you were a very young child, where you felt clear about your purpose. I know that that is sometimes the reverse of how we often talk about gaining a sense of purpose or coming into alignment with our purpose. But for most, if not many of us, we experience purpose, clarity about that purpose and our mission on earth when we're very young, before we can speak in some cases. And those visions begin to often fade or become forgotten as we are subjected more and more to the rules and constraints of our social context. But here, I do believe you are reconnected to some early visions of who you are meant to be, who you came to be in this life. And this has everything to do with joy, with creativity, with creative expression, with freely being who you are, a kind of liberation, particularly if your life has seemed to be a constant challenge in that regard. It's as though you came in with a bright light, and for whatever reasons, quite likely the responsibilities of life, the role you were assigned, perhaps a challenging early environment, that sense of freedom was closed down. The moon, the Five of Wands. Interesting. Here I see you having to compete. And while the sun talks about really the wisdom of the heart, the power of the heart, of courage, of being who you are, being uh, perfect as you are in some ways, this is about having to uh, engage with others who are equally learning to cope with life. This can be the education system for many of you. And for many of you that I'm speaking to, you may have sharp experiences of your educational experiences, particularly for those of you that are educators in whatever capacity you live or work. So this is telling me that in many ways you thrive in a learning environment. In many ways, you've cultivated your adult life and responsibilities around the team effort, a collective lift, so that you accept the opportunities of a learning environment as being those of challenging yourself, collectively participating in learning about something, solving problems together. And whether you are still engaged in education or you are part of other kinds of professional activities, your best self emerges when you can work in collaboration with others. So in the present, we have the Hermit here. And the Hermit is describing this long road. I feel like this is talking about the long road of how you have taken a position in your social or environment. That it feels as though many of you have had what might appear to be a circuitous path to finding this self, to finding your talent or your joy. The Hermit is actually about this internalizing this beautiful process of growth, of learning, of gaining, of sharing what you learn with others, so that this process is one of both teaching and learning. It is a spectrum, and that you have internalized this process in such a way that others may identify you as an eternal student, the scholar in some way, that you relish the opportunity to collect your books, your research around you, and to delve in for days, for hours, if you had the luxury of that kind of time. Some of you may be professional researchers, or research may comprise a significant part of the work that you do. But it is the process of going within and then sharing that with others in an actively collaborative environment that brings the best of you out and is coaxing this sense of belonging in the world, helping you understand how your unique path is necessary for you regarding the gifts that you have to offer. In the past, The Knight of Cups is describing this dreamy, imaginative temperament that I feel has been a signature of your emotional life from from your youth, uh, through your what feels like a creative process that is coming out of the other end of whatever challenges and growth that your maturation or evolution has required. I feel like you're arriving back at a place where you guard this creative process. You understand that it isn't for everyone. Not everyone understands it, and that your process is what keeps you in joy, in pleasure, in exhilaration, excitement about the work that you do, your creative voice, your story to tell, the way that you can bring that alive for others is something that definitely defines you. I'm hearing that you are a storyteller here, and this is likely to be in a professional capacity or in a community context where you speak before others, are looked to by many others to help to steer the ship, whatever that means to you. In the future, the Three of Swords and the Five of Cups is interesting. I feel with so much growth and flow, so much of this ability to stand on your own authoritative space, this independence that you bring to your endeavors. You are looking back at situations, relationships that have defined you in the past in your own mind, so that you are aware that you are able to uh, distance yourself from something that you once wanted desperately, you once thought was right for you, and you actually see how it is part of a pattern that you have released, that you are releasing. I feel like you're in the final stages of this significant release because of your ability to allow your emotions to flow. It's as though you're finally acknowledging to yourself how much you had invested in something that really wasn't a match for you, something that continually disappointed you, something that you knew was failed, that was never going to deliver in the way that you wanted or needed it to, and that you actively corroborated those failures by continually choosing those things over and over again. Where now that you've established this very powerful relationship with yourself, you feel safe to acknowledge to yourself just how much of your emotional life was invested in something that wasn't for you. It's part of a pattern from childhood, a pattern you had learned. You had assumed what others expected of you was appropriate for you. And so you gave to what you thought you should have, expecting it to give back to you in like. You now understand your responsibility, your part in the failures and the heartache, in your willingness to choose this repeatedly, because you have this relationship with yourself that you're standing in. You've recovered this sense of empowerment from the past, this beautiful, raging sun of creativity, this powerful, passionate nature that will always choose love. But now you're choosing it from a place of prioritizing the self first. Your standards have risen, have elevated. So now you are moving forward by saying goodbye. I hope this reading is resonating for you, Sagittarius. If it is, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all of you. I deeply am grateful for your presence here with me and all the support you give me. I'm going to clarify the Knight of Cups in the past, the Hermit in the present, and the Two of Cups and the Three of Swords with the Ten of Cups. Okay. So in the past, this loving, giving, passionate nature, this dreamy side of you, I keep getting the power of your dreams. And many of you Sagittarians have been developing this rich dream life in which you are actually an active participant in your dream life in some way. I'm sure I've said this before, but it's almost as though when you dream, when you actively focus on where you want to go, what you want to see, or a question you have, a query you put forward, it's almost like going to school or being given an assignment. And this is really rich for you. It's helping you to recognize all of the support you have in your life from a number of spheres of invisible realms, but real entities that speak to you across time, across environments. You have many options, many choices, many supporters, a range of elementals that have surrounded you since childhood. You can name them, but you're only now beginning to re-experience them in quite different forms, where you might have seen, for example, sprites or fairies or nymphs or other kinds of magical creatures as a small child. Now you experience energies or the traces of a presence in your environment. You're aware of messages coming to you during your waking life that you are only now recognizing, answers that you have to burning questions coming to you at all times in your dream and when you are awake. So this is a really opening up of this world that was once deemed imaginary. And that in some ways was something of a put down when you were a child, is what I'm hearing. You were ridiculed for being a daydreaming or being in your head or drifting away. And it's something you still do as an adult, but you've learned to rein it in over time. And now it's emerging again. You're aware how you shift in consciousness or attunement throughout your day ordinarily and can do so at will. In the present, the Hermit is clarified by the Hierophant and the Lovers. This feels like a powerful commitment. And this comes as a way in which you are prepared to choose yourself. And by choosing yourself, this is about choosing those appropriate connections as a result of your releasing things that didn't work for you and which you participated in, some of you joyfully, lovingly, until it wasn't. Now you understand that that commitment is at such a higher level now as you become more familiar and more careful with your own goals, your own gifts, your own powers, that you are already in communication with those connections, some of which have shown up, are appearing in your life in a variety of activities that you're engaged in, some of which you are aware that you are preparing for, you're waking up to, you're approaching, you're feeling empowered. I feel you're on the edge of this. You are still cultivating your private and sacred space, and for many of you, you are actually contemplating if you're willing to give that up as you understand it in order to be in a truly deeply committed relationship. In the future, the Five of Cups and the Three of Swords is clarified by the Ten of Cups. In many ways, this ability to say goodbye, to turn your back on what is no longer for you, but that you are aware is waiting there, perhaps in the distance, for you to say the word. Not that it has changed, but you have. You no longer want what you once had. You're aware if that had changed in ways that you had changed, then it would be there in your present moment. It would be present with you or for you. The fact that these old energies or relationships are far away, contemplating you, expecting you to move towards them, or them not feeling prepared or ready to move towards you, is the evidence that you need to recognize that there is so much more abundance available to you by choosing yourself, choosing those connections that match your energy, your commitment to collective abundance, collective resource sharing, that's the world that you want to live in. Those are the relationships that you want to honor, that honor you. I'm going to clarify this reading finally, or pull as a last act, the Oracle card from a Yogic Path. And I'm going to read Niyamas from the guidebook. And so, Niyamas, the laws of personal observance. You're beginning to reap the rewards of the inner transformational work you've done. This is just the beginning of a lifelong practice of personal observance. Tune into what your soul needs at this moment. Are there toxins in your body and mind that need salsa or purity? Are you experiencing contentment or for all the blessings you've been given? Are you using your disciplined energy to take you towards your divine purpose? Continue the practice of self-study. There's always more than you'll find when you open up the pathway to your true spirit. Take some extra time for yourself each day to practice the celebration and contemplation of spirit. Thank you, Sagittarius, for this lovely reading. Until next time, namaste.